Hello, respected viewers. It's George from Ireland, so welcome back to the channel. And now talking about the Conservative and Unionist Party leadership contest that's coming up. And it's not going to be finished until early November, so quite some way yet to go. The party's decided on a long leadership contest. Badenoch remains leader of the party. There was talk of him stepping down with immediate effect and someone just being a caretaker leader, possibly bring back Sir Ian Duncan Smith. Ian Duncan Smith, you remember, he led the party in 2003, the first Conservative leader elected by the ordinary members. And then he was the only one who's actually voted out by his own MPs. Boris Johnson, who said he was going to get down into a ditch to defend IDS, the very next day turned against it. But it looks like IDS is not taking over. There's not going to be any caretaker leader. So Sunak stays on till November. Well, nominations closed the other day, and pointed out that Suella Braverman pulled out because she couldn't secure the requisite number of MPs for her nomination. So there are now 6 people in the race. Kemi Badenoch, James Cleverly, Priti Patel, Tom Tugendhat, Jeremy Hunt, and Robert Jenrick. So I'll go through them. And okay, let's start with the headline. I'm forecasting that Kemi Badenoch is going to win. Now, that is the conventional wisdom, but I've said this right since the beginning. I mean, now, full disclosure, I must confess, I'm a fan of Mrs. Badenoch. I think she's a good communicator. She's very genial, genuine. And yes, I tend to share her anti-woke views. I can't think of any real debilities that she suffers from as a candidate, but so I'm giving her a 40% chance of winning. Now, remember, 4 of them are going to go forward to the party conference. The other 2 be eliminated by ballots amongst members of parliament, unless, of course, they choose to withdraw. So party conference is in late September. I think it's always late September or stroke early October in Birmingham this year. For over a decade, the Conservative Party conferences alternated between Manchester and Birmingham. I mean, quite dull. They ought to go elsewhere. Remember, they only do it in England. They used to do it in Scotland or Wales. No, I think they always do it in England, because confusing how the Conservative Party is a bit devolved. They ought to get out and fly the flag in places where the Conservative Party, doesn't have much of a presence, or right, no presence in Manchester in terms of MPs. Had a bit of a presence in Birmingham until recently. So 4 of them were presented to the party membership then. Why not narrow it down to 2? Because after the conference, the MPs will have another round of ballots or 2, and there'll be only 2 candidates who'll go forward to the ordinary members of the party, and they will make the final decision. Now, some people said it's a dreadful process. Yes, it also landed the Conservative Party with us, but then again, it landed the Conservative Party with David Cameron, who turned out to be a great success, or Boris Johnson, who at least in the short was a rip-roaring success. It's not as though the MP's choosing has always been terribly successful. In a sense, well, Michael Howard was. Well, they didn't even go to the ordinary members. He was the only candidate at the end. So Kemi Badenoch, is she 45? So she's British Nigerian. She's been in banking and computing before she went into politics. She's married. She's got 2 children. All the rest of it. MP for Saffron Walden, got quite a safe majority, a fairly effective cabinet minister. Doesn't appear to have any enemies. I mean, I just think she's marvelous. On the right of the party, okay, that some people will dislike, and it'll be the 4th woman to lead the Conservative Party, the 2nd non-white person. It'd be difficult for Labour to say racist, and of course she believes in controlling immigration. Now, Labour will obviously shriek racist at anyone who wants any control of immigration, which is preposterous, as they're proposing to do so themselves. Even Starmer says he's going to get immigration down. And this is how racist it is, that whites are allowed to want to control immigration, but non-white people aren't, which is obviously preposterous, illogical, and hypocritical. But so we'll go on to James Cleverly, who was an army officer when he went to politics. There are people who mock him as James, not so cleverly, because it's true he's not that bright. He's perfectly turned out, as you'd expect from a former military man. He's had the honour of making my acquaintance on one occasion, but that was just by chance in King Cross Station, just before the 2019 election. And he's not quite telegenic. He's not ineffective on telly. I just think he's over promoted. He's a decent chap. He's a mixed race. Again, it'd be difficult to say how we're so racialist if we keep electing non-white leaders. But yeah, is he about the 50 mark, having been a foreign secretary for a while? Yeah, I think he's somewhat likable. I don't think he's very effective, actually. But so I'm giving Kemi a 40% chance. I give him a 20% chance of winning. Kemi's on the right of the party, James Cleverly more in the middle. Then Priti Patel, giving her a 15% chance. But the surprising thing is, why didn't she go for it in either of the ballots in 2019? Former Home Secretary, how old is she now? She's 53. She looks a lot younger. MP for Witham in Essex. Her parents were Ugandan Indians who shifted to the UK. When I think it was even before Idi Amin expelled the Asian community. So she went to Keele University. I met her many, many years ago when she's working in Conservative Central Office. Um, so she's presentable, has some contentious views about the restoration of the death penalty. She de-emphasizes her Asian background. I think she's nominally Hindu, never wears a sari or anything like that, and is an outspoken Zionist, which is too much for my stomach, really. I mean, I'm not anti-Zionist, I accept Israel's right to exist, but I don't think oppression of the Palestinians is a good thing. Anyway, so failed on the Rwanda policy, failed on crime. So I think her many shortcomings with the portfolio she held in cabinet will be held against her. So I don't think she'd be the best leader. Actually, I'm giving her a 15% chance of winning. I mean, nobody's too old on this list, which is one thing that's notable. Okay, Tom Tugendhat, he would be on the left of the party. I think I'm right in saying he campaigned for Remain way back in the referendum. There's obviously no civil war over that one either. So seen as a one nation conservative. And in that 2022 ballot, he was the only one who's willing to say that Boris Johnson is a liar. Now, that plays badly with some of the grassroots. There's still some love for Johnson amongst ordinary Conservative members. So I think he'd probably be regarded as too liberal. A 10% chance. Went to public school. He was an army officer at Bristol University. Was at Cambridge University. He's partly from a German Jewish background, looking at that surname Tugendhat. So it's notable that only 2 of the 6 are, I suppose, what you could call like indigenous British, which is not a bad thing. It's not a good thing. It's a completely simply neutral remark that immigration's benefited the Conservative Party so much. Anyway, so I give him only a 10% chance. I just really cannot forecast ordinary members voting for him in significant numbers. So there's a big question: who's going to make it to the final 2? Because Tom Tugendhat, he's as fine amongst parliamentary party, but I think very badly amongst ordinary members of the party. There's Jeremy Hunt. I'm also giving him a 10% chance. Former Chancellor Exchequer Health Secretary, an evil man in some ways, robotic, never a hair out of place, as dull can be, a former head boy of a school, Charterhouse. Now that is a disqualification in my view. Only a total brown-noser, cowardly, cloying conformist will get such a position, just like Rishi Sunak. So anyway, he's the most boring man in Britain. Chancellor of the Exchequer, fairly effective, especially considering the hand dealt him. So the safe pair of hands, but I think he's yesterday's man. Like, he's no spring chicken. How old is he? Is he 60 now or something? But he looks a lot younger. Stick thin, maybe control freak, tends to go with being that thin jogger. He's married to Lucia Guo, this Chinese woman, and he's got, is it 2 young children? Because I saw this family once in the theatre just by chance, watching that watching the Spitting Image. I give him only a 10% chance. I think he's the oldest candidate. Tugendhat's 50, by the way, and they're coming out to Robert Jenrick at 42, the youngest candidate. Isn't he? Is he Cambridge educated, a barrister as well? A bit of a boring character too. I give him only a 5% chance. Would it come even too early for him? So there's really nothing notable to say about him. So that's why I think that's the problem is. Yeah, Hunt would probably be regarded on the moderate end of the party. Back to Jeremy Hunt, voted for Remain, I think. So only Hunt and Tugendhat were Remainers. The rest were Leavers. But that's no longer pertinent these days. So that's my prediction of how it would come in the final ballot. Of course, who's going to get to the final 2? Almost certainly Kemi Badenoch. possibly James Cleverly, possibly Priti Patel. The thing is, Priti Patel, she's largely fighting for the same MPs votes as Kemi Badenoch. Maybe Tom Tugendhat, he's more likely to be the sort of moderate candidate. If there was a left versus a right-wing candidate, it would probably be Badenoch versus Tugendhat. I mean, Cleverly's maybe the centre of the party. Jeremy Hunt's got some kind of a chance of being the moderate, but I don't think he will. Right. Thank you for watching, and make sure you subscribe on Patreon, donate, and PayPal. Goodbye.